Okay, I'm here with the online campus pastor from the Rock in San Diego, Mike Humphrey. Mike, thanks so much for hanging out with me,
Yeah, thanks for having me, Jay.
dude. And for those who are, you can't. I'm gonna probably put a photo of this somewhere because you have a very legit setup, and I was asking you to like give me a quick tour because I've seen these Facebook lives that we're going to talk about that you've been doing to build up your community, but you have like this map in the background, you have this monitor, but I guess you just set it up recently, right?
Yeah, this has been something that's been somewhat recent. We actually just moved into a new house, and it has a little bit more space. I have a little nook in our master bedroom,
Yeah.
and I have 3 little kids. So if I don't have a space that's kind of far away from them, you'll just hear them constantly. And so yeah, my wife helped me out, and we went to Hobby Lobby and Target, and I built some furniture, and we just got a little setup. Yeah, it's awesome being able to work from home and be able to kind of. I feel like when you're online, you got to be able to produce some content pretty quickly without having to do a ton of setup. So it's a really huge blessing for sure.
Yeah, it's fun. Like I totally did a similar thing where I found these tile wall background deals. It's for my, I have it in my bedroom, and I don't use it as much recently, but just because of the way like kids nap, like in the last year, it's kind of switched up with ages. But it's so important, man, to have an easy setup. And I was surprised you were telling me about how you did it, and I was like, oh, it looks legit on camera. Like nobody would ever know where like it, I thought it was in your office at work. So
Yeah, no, I appreciate it, man. Yeah, it's funny that you talk about the little tile wall because we actually bought it's the removable wallpaper. Right, we're in a
oh
rental, so I
yeah.
didn't want to actually put wallpaper, and it's supposed to look like shiplap, like wood planks. And
Yeah.
I spent like 45 minutes putting them up, and then they didn't line up, and then I just
Yeah.
peeled them all off and forget it, you know. But anyways, it's really nice having a little spot for sure.
Well, I'm for anybody who's listening to this, I'm gonna link out to the Facebook Live stuff that you've been doing. Check it out, and for sure, having a home setup like that is worth it. And even if you can get your church to expend some stuff, because they'll get more production out of you for sure.
Yep.
Like, because to be able to not have to drive somewhere and record it is a big thing. So, so okay, so we're talking about church online. I want to hear a little bit about what the Rock has been doing. If you guys don't know the Rock Church in San Diego. Pastor Miles is the senior pastor there. Your church is huge on outreach. You guys have been doing stuff online for outreach purposes for a long time, but over the last year or so, right? You guys have started to really take it more seriously as a community option, right?
Yeah, so basically, you nailed it on the head. The Rock Church is a very outreach-driven church. It's evangelism is number one. Our pastor is an evangelist. He's funny. He's a great speaker, and his expertise is preaching the gospel in a way that people can receive it. And so, for about 7 years, I think it was starting in 2011, we started streaming our services. So you can watch a service online. Many churches do this, and it's a great way for people to check out your church if they've never been there before. And we even had a little chat type of thing where people could request prayer, and we had some people that were part of our leadership, our servant leadership team that would pray for people. It was a good little thing we had going. But
Mm.
we also had this new thing happen recently that we call digital evangelism, which is basically just a fancy way to say that Pastor Miles or some sort of celebrity like Drew Brees or someone like that will
Yeah,
will share their testimony.
just a Drew Brees.
Just like just throw some name, just a name
Well,
drop a little bit here or there.
so people don't know Miles was a football player in the NFL, right? Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
he played for the Chargers, and when they were back in San Diego, rest in peace. But yeah, Pastor Miles played for the Chargers, and he also was a pastor at Horizon down here in San Diego before he launched the Rock Church. But so yeah, he knows, he has a bunch of connections with athletes, and so someone will share the gospel. They'll go ahead and they'll post it, they'll boost it on different social media platforms, and then people have the opportunity to respond and say yes or no if they want to make that decision to put their faith in Jesus Christ. And they follow up by filling out a form, giving an email address, and so we're actually seeing thousands of people fill these things out. I mean, it's really growing pretty large. And but now we were realizing that sending people who live in Florida to watch a service online is not necessarily capturing what we want them to do. We want them to be part of community. So
yeah.
we launched the online campus in March of this year. So only a handful of months ago, really to provide a community and a space for people to be able to connect in a deeper way than just watching a sermon online, especially in today's culture when you could watch a sermon from almost any pastor for free online
Yeah.
from the click of a button.
Yeah. So So you've gone through this shift where it was just kind of like go out and reach as many people, and now you've
Right.
started to actually provide this community option. And so talk a little bit about that. Like, do you feel like from your leadership and your vision for the community, is it kind of a lean towards primarily local, or are you taking all non-local people, or is it just kind of like it's a both and strategy? You're funneling people to your campuses that you have in the San Diego area, and you're kind of taking those people that are far. What's kind of that general trend so far?
So I would say that, I mean, right now our main focus is not local. I mean, I'd say a majority of our audience is local, and people are connecting online just because that culture has kind of been created. People who live in San Diego County, many of them like to watch online. I mean, I'll see people that'll come to one of our services and tell me that they already watched a service online. And people just they'll put it on while they're getting ready in the morning or whatever it is. I think it's also a great option if you've ever been in another state or another city and wanted to check a church out. The first thing I do is go online and I'll listen to part of a sermon from one of the pastors. So I think it's achieving that, but I don't. That's not our primary goal. Our primary goal is to steward well these relationships that we've built with these people who've made this huge, the biggest decision you can make in your life, right? To believe in Jesus Christ, and what do we do with them, right? We want to be able to steward that well. We want to be able to provide next steps for them. So really, it is more of a global plan, global philosophy. But we also want to see that global philosophy become more localized in their areas to really raise up leaders so that we can, because at the end of the day, the church is local. It needs to be local, and there needs to be leaders that are shepherding people in specific areas, I believe. So we're trying to really grow people in different areas so that we can raise up leaders to shepherd smaller communities in different states and different countries.
Yeah, and I know that's something that I'm constantly dealing with, that it's a great problem to have, but it is a problem because when people are responding like, hey, I live in, Minnesota, or I live in this part of Texas, and it's like, I want to be part of your community, but they're desiring physical community, and I'm wanting to offer that, but there's not necessarily a go-to option in their area. And I say this all the time, but generally people just go like, there's thousands and hundreds of thousands of churches, but that doesn't mean there's something within a realistic driving distance. And so, but I love it. And I know The Rock has some very intentional strategy on this. You guys have your extension strategy. I remember talking with you, or maybe it was, Mingo, who's a friend of ours that's also on staff at Saddleback. I remember there was something, you guys had something with the online community where somebody was far from you guys that kind of started an expression a couple of years ago. And it's like, I know there's a lot of learnings with that, but I love that you guys have that vision, and you guys are such evangelistic church planning. I think anybody that can really do it, it's you guys with
kind of to touch on that, I feel like we have a very localized strategy that I forgot to even touch on, and it's called Microsites. That's something that Mingo used to lead. Now we have Esley, who leads it, Pastor Esley from The Rock, and she does a great job leading. But basically what it is these are, picture it like a little pop-up church that happens in a parking lot or in a public park or on the beach. We have one in La Jolla right on the beach, and people come together, they barbecue, and they put up a big screen and some speakers, and they play the service on Sunday. And people who are walking by are like, what's going on here? And they're like, hey, come on by, we got some food for you. And that's really our strategy to reach San Diego County. At the end of the day, Pastor Miles has the heart to reach San Diego County. He believes the Lord told him that this is where he's going to shepherd. And we have five physical campuses in San Diego County, but our microsites are reaching on more of a grassroots type of level, where it's face to face and there's that type of community. That's why I really feel like online is more of the branch to reach out and to reach people that are all over the place. And you're right, it's a huge problem. And I want to be clear about one thing as well. People ask a lot of times, "What are you telling people not to go to a local church and to just watch online?" That's not at all our goal or our agenda, right? We would love for people to get plugged into a local church, and if possible, we'll point them in the right direction. But at the end of the day, people will say, "Hey, do you know of a local church in Burbank, Minnesota?" Or so, I don't even know if that place exists, but we don't know. I don't know. We don't know. Someone's gonna look at Burbank, Minnesota.
It's the film district of Minnesota.
Exactly. No, I don't know. We don't know every church that's everywhere, right? And
Yeah.
we would do the same research they would do. We'd Google it and we'd start doing some research about beliefs and what the church is all about. We would love for people to get plugged into a local church, but there's many people that they want to watch the Rock Church. They want to connect with the
Yeah.
Rock Church. They want to be part of the vision and the community. And we need to. I believe that we as a culture need to get our focus on the capital C church, really. At the end of the day, we want people to be plugged into community, and we're going to fight hard to get people connected to each other. But we're one church fighting this battle together.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. So just a little context, because I think a lot of people rush to like, wow, look what the Rock is doing. And obviously you guys are big. Obviously you guys are doing a lot of cool things, and not everybody is going to be equipped with that type of vision and those types of resources. But for context, so you guys have been streaming services for about 7 years. Over the last 3 months, you guys have started to offer an online campus.
Yeah.
But how old is your church?
Our church started in the year 2000. So we are about 18 years old. Yeah.
18 years old. And then obviously you guys are super unique because like even Saddleback, we're like 38 years old. But obviously when Saddleback started, the internet was not the internet. I mean, like there was
Right.
internet. It was probably ARPANET or one of those early forms of the internet. But
Right,
like
right.
there's kind of were like obviously pre-iPhone. And so
Right.
like just thinking about, I always talk about that. Like I notice a huge difference in age of senior pastor and like, adoption of technology. Now, regardless, if you're a super visionary leader, you're going to adopt all sorts of things, but there is a difference. I notice the younger the pastor, even if you're in your 40s, like, and that's young, like you're still like more adaptive, but seeing, okay, so 2000, and then how much time do you get to dedicate to online ministry?
Yeah, so that's my full-time job. I put
Sweet.
100% of my job into it. And like you said, that's one of the benefits of being part of a larger church, right? I mean,
Yeah.
I know a lot of churches, I used to do youth ministry. I know that a lot of churches where the youth pastor is the kids pastor and the young adults pastor.
Totally.
Kind of just do everything because you have to. And there's some churches that have a junior high pastor and a junior high worship pastor and
Yeah.
a junior high admin. It's like, whoa, so it just really depends on the resources that you have. Thank the Lord I get to put 100% of my time into this. Because it's a huge ministry. And to touch on what you're talking about with ages, it's funny you say that. I do agree. I think a lot of it though boils down to also tradition, right? I mean, and I guess you can probably make a pretty strong correlation between age and tradition, right? And traditional values. But I think it's hard for some people to wrap their brain around if this is even beneficial or effective, right? To get a bunch of people watching church online. And I feel like we're in a position where we're infiltrating the social media space, right? You scroll through and you see political, arguments all the time, right? You're seeing all this banter. You're seeing people post what they had for dinner. There's all kinds of things that you're seeing on Facebook, and yet we have an opportunity to pray live, and you can jump in and you could ask for prayer, and we can pray for you right there on the spot, or you can join in a community where you're able to connect with people in your area. I mean, we're providing opportunity to glorify God on these platforms, and it's where people are. It's how people are spending their time, right? Nobody's arguing that those statistics are true, that people are spending hours and hours a day on social media. So I think we need to be bringing Christ to that space.
I love that. I love that redeeming it, not being scared of it.
Right.
That totally makes sense. So, okay, let's get into a little bit of the details here. Like, okay, so what platform are you using primarily for your church online? And do you know which streaming provider you're currently set up with? I'm just curious.
Yeah, so we're using the Church Online platform.
Sweet.
And I believe it's the same one that Elevation's using. A lot of big churches use it. Is it Life Church use it as well?
Yeah, Life Churches. I last time I heard, I think the guy who oversees a lot of those platforms. He told me that there was about 4,000 active churches a month using it. It was kind of a lot more has signed up, but like that actively using it. So if you are a church of any size, use the Church Online platform. It's going to be. People call it Chopped for short. So if you ever hear that with people, it's like, what's Chopped? That's not the show Chopped, is it? No, Chopped. So, but you guys have been using that. So you're setting up the events in there and streaming and it has a ton of features.
Yeah, it's incredible. I love it. It has a chat feature right off the bat. And I talked about how we used to live stream and we had a chat feature, but now it's cool because our chat is it's really like an online engagement team that we have. I really like to see it almost like a hospitality team, like a welcome team when you come come to church. They're saying, hey, glad to be worshiping with you. How are you doing? We see the same people coming back every week, which is really exciting to see. And we're chatting with them, and it really is starting to become more of a vibrant community. And then there's the opportunity for private prayer requests as well. So if somebody says, hey, I need prayer, we can chat with them one-on-one. So that's just the chat platform. But we have the Bible app that's completely, searchable right there. You can change Bible versions. You can search verses right there within the app. We have a notes section where we upload our current lesson plan, so you can fill in the blanks and go along. Pastor Miles many times uses fill in the blanks as we go through the lesson plan. Yeah. There's a little next steps option where they can get plugged in right there and connect.
And
so
with the next steps, do you guys connect that to your local teams, like follow up people, or is all that come to your team?
All that comes to my team. We have a system right now where we have some of the stuff is automated as far as how we respond. With our life. We have what we call our membership class Life Class, and it's basically just like a first step discipleship class. It's 4 classes long. They can connect right away there. We don't even really make them fill out the whole form. They can just click a button and jump right into the class. Yeah. We also have, they can sign up to join a group, to host a group, whatever it is right there on the spot. Yeah.
Yeah, that's sweet. And then like when you say automate, you mean like an email, or do you use like a MailChimp workflow or something? Like what's like
they get an email. Like our tech guy helped me out with that. I wrote it. He figured out a way to get it to them.
Sweet.
Yeah, I don't even know exactly what system he's using. I know we use Typeform just for them to fill out the forms. I like how clean it looks. We use Wufoo. We've kind of tried out Dotform. We tried a lot of different things, and they all kind of have their pros and cons. But so far right now we're using Typeform. It's working pretty well for us.
No, that's sweet.
Yeah.
So streaming provider, do you know who you guys use for streaming stuff?
We use Wirecast right now. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah. So you are using Wirecast for all that stuff. And are you guys running that off of like a computer, like essentially in your guys' worship center, all that stuff going through? Is your team managing the kind of the transitions and all that?
Yeah, our team's managing it. So we're a bit unique because we actually have live host moments. So I'll be down in the lobby, and I'll actually be on camera hosting each service. So doing the welcome, doing the intro, saying hi to everyone. I'll even pop open the laptop or the iPad once in a while and say hi to people who are tuning in. So live right on the spot, I get to chat with them. It's great.
How many services?
We have 4 services. Sometimes we have one of them that's digital, so it'll play twice. But yeah, for the most part, I'm usually down there at least 3 or 4 services, hosting the moment. So yeah, it's pretty extreme, but it's awesome. It's awesome being able to connect to people in that way. I think I remember talking to you a while back, and you're like, "Man, that's a big task to take on. It's a huge undertaking." And you're right. You're 100% right. But it's forced me to empower other people to really step up in the chat department. So to kind of get back to your question about production, though, we have a production lead, and then we have a bunch of high school students that used to be in my youth group, and they're up in the control room in our broadcast campus. We have to do it out of our broadcast campus because we get the true live feed. We have 5 campuses for our multi-site, and 1 is broadcast. So we're in the broadcast campus. We have a Mac that's just, that thing, it's like a super powered machine. I think we're running Wirecast, and it's using like 5% of this computer capacity or something crazy. It's ridiculous.
Okay, wow.
things at Optimus Prime. So we're using that, and we're streaming from Wirecast, and we've had some bumps in the road, but for the most part, Wirecast does what we need it to do.
Sweet.
I'm also using Wirecast to stream our Saturday morning prayer, because I'm able to throw up some different slides and things like that. It makes it a little more.
It's definitely, Wirecast is, if you're not like, and you and I were actually talking about this before we started recording, is that we're not necessarily default technical guys. We're going to be more pastoral at kind of our bent. Right. But like, I remember when I started using Wirecast, I was like, okay, I could figure this out. Like, it was like just, okay, this is the live screen. This is how you push, and these are the outputs. And we just did an event like that we've been doing the last couple of months, and like 5 minutes before, I was afraid it wasn't going to start because I couldn't figure out, like, something changed on my streaming provider. And I was like, oh crap, I might not be able to do this because for some reason it's not, the output is just like coming up red. And I'm like Googling Wirecast settings, like things I
Yeah.
did not think I'd view in seminary. Uh,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you don't learn most of this stuff in seminary, that's for sure. And I and that's anyone who's been in ministry for the most part. You think you're going to come into it with a handbook, and usually you're writing the handbook, right? That's just kind of how
yeah,
it works. And so with Wirecast, same thing. I mean, I figured it out, and I'll even jump in sometimes, and I'll tell our production guys a couple things that I learned about Wirecast. It's really fun being able to just kind of get in and kind of get into the nitty gritty and figure it out. But yeah, you learn a ton about it, and you can stream out to Facebook
yeah.
and your online platform at the same time. I like I said, I use it to stream to Facebook, and like I said, we've had a couple hiccups, but for the most part, a lot of them were user errors, and I'm figuring it out as I go. Yeah,
Well, and I think the long-term strategy, I think I would tell anybody this is the long-term strategy is try to take as much of the technical into people that are experts, but being part of something for beta and proving. And that's what you guys have been doing something for the last 3 months. You guys are established in some areas, but you're also proving the model at the same time. So I would much rather do something for a short season and then hand it off. And sometimes you need to do that. Even at larger churches, you need to do that. You need to.
absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we're figuring it out. But I do think if you're listening to this and you're looking into a streaming platform, I think Wirecast is a
Yeah.
good inexpensive option. I mean, I think it's like just under $1,000 and you get 2 licenses. So I
Yeah.
have one on my computer, so I'm able to stream stuff from home, and then we have one at the main campus for our main online feed. So it's definitely a good option.
Yeah, and I've been told too they do offer nonprofit discounts. I didn't get one myself, but somebody told me that after the fact, and so I'm unsure of if that's true or not. But
Yeah, thanks for telling me now, Jay.
I know, I know. So okay, so let's talk about this. What right now? And I know this is, to be honest, this is a question that I have revisited so many different times, and it's still kind of a moving target. But essentially, what does your kind of community to core strategy look like in your online campus right
Man, it's a hard question to answer. I agree with you on that. We've only been around for what 3 to 4 months now, and I already like we keep kind of rethinking it as well. We so if I mean, man, you and I talked a while back
now?
before we even started this thing. I'm like, I need to talk to Jay. He's the guru for online, and so having all the information go to one place is really helpful. So basically, to explain what that means is that when somebody wants to take a next step, whether that's they want to be part of our membership class, they want to join a group, host a group, they want to more information about who Jesus is, doesn't matter what it is, they fill out one form, and so we have one place where all of our information goes. That's a great funneling strategy. So we have all of our information in one place, and it helps us do follow up. But I'm also finding out that I'm asking people to fill out some next steps and to do some things, and some of them I think they're clicking on the form and not filling it out all the way. And
Yeah.
so we also have a couple buttons that are on the platform. If you check our platform out, then you could see that there's one to host an R group and there's one to take life class. So that's basically host a small group or take our membership class. And it's just a one-click button to get there, because those are the main 2 things we're asking people to do. So that kind of gets down to the heart of what our core strategy is. At the end of the day, we want everybody in a small group. Like
Yeah.
that's our absolute end all goal for people. We want people in community. So our strategy kind of, I think, goes a little bit more 50,000 feet up, because we have our digital evangelism piece as well. We literally have, I mean, it's going to sound crazy, but we have hundreds of thousands of people who have indicated that they want to give their life to Christ, and
Crazy.
that they've given us email information, right? I mean, that's like if a girl says she likes you but doesn't give you her phone number. These are ones who have given us their phone number, right? They actually are putting some meat behind the game.
Oh man.
They're giving us email addresses. They're bought in, and it's exciting. And of course, the question comes up: you have hundreds of thousands of people who are getting saved. Are they really saved? And are they really? I don't know. We're obviously not equipped to answer that question. Scripturally, we're not even able to answer that question. But yet, we still have an obligation to follow up and give these people an opportunity to connect. And so we're trying to reach out to that email list as best we can without it feeling like spam. We're trying to really love them and have them connect with our online campus, or at least connect with the local church. We want to do the same thing we're doing with everybody else. Get them to the online platform, get them to plug into our discipleship class, and then get them to join or host a small group. That's really our main funneling model right there.
So somebody in Florida, they could just host a group in their home, even though they're going to be on the other side of the country.
Absolutely. They still have to go through our process, and we have a process for how we vet who our leaders are. And, through the advice of some great people, we're still putting people through the process. We're still having people go through our membership class, and we're still interviewing them. We'll jump on FaceTime or Zoom, or we'll do a phone call, and we'll still interview those people if they're going to be posted on our website, and we're going to be representing them as the Rock Church.
Yeah.
But, we can have groups that are in homes that are meeting. We'll have groups that are on Zoom or on Facebook, and we have a lot of different groups and different. I think that's where things get confusing. I'm still trying to figure out how to manage that. All the different types of groups. There's I feel like when you mix it all together, there's 100 different categories of what type of group somebody can have, right? I want a women's group, but I want it to be on the website, but we're in Florida and we're going to be on Zoom. And it's okay, it's hard to categorize all of that in that matrix. And right now we're using Fellowship One, trying to figure all that out. It's we kind of need a better system for that, but we're still figuring it out as we go.
That's it. So your membership class that you guys offer, that's something that is now on YouTube or some kind of online learning platform that people can access? Yeah.
So we actually use a learning platform, what do you call it? Basically a class platform that's called Thinkific. I don't know if you've heard of Thinkific before. No. Check it out.
Say it again. It's called?
It's Thinkific. Thinkific. Yeah, so we use that, and it's we have a guy named Marcus who's a stud on our team who really leads more of the tech stuff on the back end, and he helped build that class. It's actually just up now on the platform. If you want to just check it out, our website is online.sdrock.com, and you can just check out, click take live class. You'll be able to walk through the process right there and just see what it's about. If you want to check out Thinkific, you can see what a membership class looks like within that platform.
No, I love that. There's so many. We use Teachable right now, and at teachable.com, and it's been nice. But yeah, there's so many great platforms out there. That's cool to hear that you guys are doing that. So I guess one of my two last questions here is, one was around, and this is kind of a funny question considering how recent you've been rolling, but I bet there's stuff in month 4 here that you've oh man, I wish I would have used this even at the beginning, with how quick stuff moves. But is there anything you wish you would have had at the beginning, even a couple months ago, that you just started to do? Is there any tool or anything like that?
Yeah. So here's something that's really important. And I love that question, because when we first launched this thing, I mean, man, we launched it and I don't know, I felt so underprepared. I don't know if you could prepare. It's like preparing to have children. There's almost nothing you can do to prepare for it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You do the best you can, but apart from making a nursery, you're going to have to learn a ton of stuff on the go. So one of the main things was that we have a small group registration form, right? The small group registration form is great, but it also requires an address, because of course a small group requires an address, right? But then now we had people wanting to start small groups, but they're online and they didn't want their address in the form. So they literally would stop filling out the form and then email me and say, why is it asking for my address? I don't want people showing up at my house. And so we had this big confusing thing that was happening. People who are wanting to serve, there's barriers in the way, right? As a pastor, you want to get people plugged in and connected. You don't want barriers in the way, right? I think of it like Apple, right? If you're on their website, they're not gonna make it super hard to pay for your items, right? They want you to pay for it. And when you're a minister, if people want to serve, they want to get connected, you want to help them get connected as quick as possible. And there were barriers in the way. Also, our membership class was originally created for people who live in San Diego who can't get to the campus. So it was really kind of, you had to download the workbook and print it and fill it out. And it was just really kind of quirky the way that it worked out. And now that we have Thinkific, it's so much cleaner. I mean, the whole process from front to back is easy. People can take half of one class and then leave, and it'll save your progress, 50% done. That's awesome. It's the right way to do it. It's not even it's profound or earth-shattering technology. It's just the way it should have been from the beginning, and we would have probably avoided a bunch of issues. But yet we kind of were building the plane as we were flying it. So we're, those are, I guess, two big things. Have a registration form that is specific for online. I mean, it's so unique that a lot of times you have the pressure of trying to make things fit in with what the rest of the church is doing. I know, Jay, you and I kind of have different environments a little bit where with us, it's like you are a campus, you have to fit into what the campus looks like. And with you, it's like your technology and like, things we don't understand. So you guys are unique. With us, there's a little more pressure to fit into, here's what a campus is. But yet there's sometimes you got to just push back and say, we can't have one registration form. There's got to be one that's unique. And it's really working out well. As we grow, we're softening out those edges big time.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know, like, I totally remember a similar type of experience with our group stuff where we had our thing was we were having people signing up to host groups internationally.
Okay.
And they didn't have zip codes. That was something. It was like a required thing on the form was a zip code, and
little red asterisk.
Countries don't use zip codes. Like, it's not the thing. And so it's like, and it was right around we have I think 4 international campuses. So it was right around the time we were starting international campuses.
Oh, wow.
And our database had to go through this change to support it. So it was like a larger issue that, like, everything was like, yeah, we got to figure this out. I remember I sent out my zip code. I said, just lie on it. Just, like, put my zip code in the box. So at least we can get you into the system. But there's definitely those pain points when you're moving beyond your geofence of all that stuff. It's just, it's definitely a pain point, but a great opportunity to kind of flourish. But that's funny how you said that. I was remembering some things early on.
Yeah, I mean, the struggles that we have going through this. I mean, I even just thinking about, like, something that's been coming up recently is, I kind of had this concept in my mind. People were always telling me that time zones are going to be something I'm going to have to consider. So when I send an email, I take it into consideration. Or if I'm planning a meeting with someone in Florida, I'll think through 3 hours forward and we'll have the meeting. It's not a big deal. But then one thing I didn't really take into consideration is that I kind of thought, okay, there's either a local small group, and that's easy because they're all in the same geographical location, or they're online and anyone can join in. Well, the truth is, if you're online, not anyone can join in because the time zones are so drastically different. We have a ton of people who watch in Kenya. We have a guy who's in Turkey who watches pretty regularly, and we have a family in Sicily. It's like they're watching church with us live, and it's 3 a.m. over there sometimes, right? It's just insane how much that matters. So I think that the new approach that we're going to take is even when we're starting online groups, have it geographical in a sense. So have it be, hey, this is the time zone that you're in. I still don't know how we're going to tackle that issue yet, but at least when someone says, hey, do you have a small group in this area? Try to tag them up with one that has a time zone that might work. So it's not 12 p.m. on a Tuesday.
Yeah. Right? Well, I don't think other pastors, at least I think mission department, like mission pastors know this, but like online pastors, like the type of follow-up that you have to deal with of, like, it's funny, like a week ago, I was talking to this guy in Rwanda, and like it's 12 o'clock at night, my time. And I'm like, I'm on Facebook, and I'm on a Facebook call because the only thing you can get is a Facebook call. And I'm talking to him in my living room. And I'm just thinking, like, this is just a very unique scenario about, like, the things like using WhatsApp, using WeChat, things that, as your ministry grows in the international reach, you're just like, hey, you want to figure out. And I know that's something for me, even like long-term, a lot of my ministry follow-up is email dependent. And that's something that I've had to start to, like, really look at, like, okay, what does this look like with text messaging? What does this look like? Like, what is all that? Because a lot of it, I'm so email dependent. Now, email is still really relevant, but it's like, what does this look like in 3 years? Like, is that still going to be it? I don't know. It's working now, but it's like, yeah, it's just interesting.
I agree.
So, okay. So how about this? My last question for you is, what are you excited about and dreaming about for kind of the rest of this year with online church? What's something that you're looking at kind of evolving a little bit, or like you want to spend more time to kind of break this thing open?
Yeah. So one thing that's been huge lately, been getting me really excited, is we have this online Facebook group, right? I know you have an online community that's vibrant, right? And people are praying for each other and connecting, and we have a similar thing going. for the Rock Church. But one thing that I've been doing recently has been, when I say recently, I mean within the last week, is something that we've started to do, is start online small group type of groups on Facebook for different states in the US. And we haven't branched out for different countries, but will this be the long-term solution for small groups? Probably not, because Facebook Live is really kind of it's a bit more of a one-way experience, right? I mean, one person's on video, the rest are on text. But what you can do now is you can kind of start categorizing people in a way to where they can find community a bit more organically. So I just met with a guy who's in Florida. He lives in Tampa, and he's like, hey, I have a bunch of schools, and we want to we're willing to host Sunday services in our buildings, right? And I'm like, that's awesome, but their buildings can maybe fit 1,000 people each, right? What are you going to do? How are you going to find that many people to fill those buildings? Well, he's going to start by building community in Florida through this group, right? Then what you could do is you could post polls. You can see where people are by city, by region, by area. One thing I'm really super excited about too, as we start branching out and growing, is to see these people start serving. I really feel like that's when you start seeing amazing fruit come, is when we have a disaster happen in Florida and there's a hurricane, and now that group rallies together and they're helping the people that are local, or they figure out that they can help out the homeless in their area and they start doing service projects. I mean, like I said, the Rock Church is very outreach driven, very service driven. And if we can actually tap into these groups as they start growing organically, and this community starts growing, then we can start seeing these little beacons of light go out and serve communities all around the US and all around the world. And I'm really excited about it. I mean, when you start getting into data, it's funny. I'm like becoming a data nerd. I never thought that I would, but I love data now. And you can pull from your Facebook group and say, where's everybody from? And it starts categorizing by states and by cities and by countries, and realizing that we have like 50 people in our Facebook group that are from Kenya. Like, wow, that's a huge bustling group right there of people that all understand each other way better than I could ever understand them, right? Because they all actually live in Kenya, and they're all on Facebook, so they can all connect with each other organically and start to grow some groups that maybe can meet in person from that point forward. So
I've loved that group insight feature that they added recently. It's such a game changer. I'm curious, that's a cool idea with kind of categorizing people that way with states, so that you can have natural connection. I don't know if you can do it on groups yet, but I do know you can do it on pages now, where you can stream to multiple Facebook pages at once. What would be interesting is if you had a bunch of groups, and I don't think it's possible yet, but if you had 50 groups hypothetically, and you streamed to all 50 groups at the same time, but having their own private conversations would be compelling. I know you could do it on pages. I know that CV Outreach, I saw, I think it was with, it was with another type of event, but I remember I was picking the brain about, with Greg Laurie. I go, you guys should like partner with different churches, and because most churches already send people to those things to help out. Like, what if you people offer up their Facebook pages, their church's Facebook page, to stream the event, but I could see a bunch of stuff like that fleshing out. But dude, Mike, I know we talked at a conference like a couple months ago, and your fresh vision of how you're doing this, it is a big encouragement on my end. I love it. You are killing it, and I love seeing the Facebook Live stuff. I'm going to put links on this. You guys need to check this out, because he's doing a great job of intentionally building produced content for your community. And I love it that people see you as their pastor, and I see it from afar. But dude, thanks so much for everything you're doing, and I'm pumped.
Jay, I appreciate it, man. And like I said, from day one, you've been someone I've leaned on for a lot of wisdom and knowledge. And I appreciate you being a forerunner in this. I think there's a lot of people listening right now that have been doing it for 6 months, a year, 2 years. And I mean, you've been doing it for 5 or more. And right? I mean, am I right?
Yeah, it might be longer than that, but I
It'll
don't
be
want to think
longer than that. Yeah.
about it. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. You know, but really, you've been a pioneer in this game, so I really appreciate your wisdom and for having me on, man. I really appreciate you.
Dude, thanks. Okay, so I'm gonna put links to everything that Mike is doing. Check out the Rock Church, and dude, thanks so much for hanging out.
All right, thank you, Jay.